Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, I just got done watching this debate between Avery, Albee Al, Metaphysics Mike, and this Andrew guy, I think, runs a channel, Biblical Unitarian, or something like that, I think is his channel name. If you've seen any of my past videos, you know I obviously don't side with Trinitarians. I also don't side with Unitarians. I think they are similar to Trinitarians in that they shoot too far to one extreme, right? So like Trinitarians, they think Jesus is God. Unitarians go all the way to the other extreme and say that he didn't even exist in the Old Testament. But this video is not about that. I was watching this debate, right? And there's a specific argument that Albee Al used in this debate, which I have heard Avery also use before, just in referencing different verses. This is a 4-hour debate. I did not timestamp where these are. So if you want to hear what I'm talking about, or like hear them present the argument, I'm going to present the argument on their behalf here. But if you're a Trinitarian and you assume that I'm strawmanning their argument, go watch the debate for yourself. Find where they make the argument, and then come back to this video. I'm not about to spend my time, though, combing through 4 hours just to try and find the timestamps for what I'm going to point out. Anyway, this was the argument. They presented Daniel 7, right? The prophecy of Daniel 7. And, you know, it's the Son of Man coming to the Ancient of Days and everything. And firstly, they always misinterpret this as an understanding that the Son of Man is God, which is not at all what this prophecy says. It says he comes before God and is given dominion and power and everything like that, right? God is never given anything. But, you know, Trinity. They're just reading it through Trinity. But this was their argument. Albee Al brought up everything after verse 15 here, right? When you see Most High, so like verse 18 here, right? But the saints of the Most High will receive the kingdom, right? So it happens there. It happens twice in verse 25. He will speak out against the Most High and oppress the saints of the Most High. Happens verse 22, right? I think I actually have. Yeah, these are all the occurrence of the word, the Hebrew word for Most High, Elyonin. Happens in 7:18, 22, 25, and 27, right? So Albee Al's argument was that this Hebrew word, Elyonin, is plural. And so in this prophecy, which is true, right? Let's establish that first and foremost. Elyonin is a grammatically plural word. So he says that after the Son of Man is given, you know, the dominion and power and everything like that, right? And that everybody should serve him, everything like that. He then comes down to this section here where it's talking about the saints of the Most High and everything. And his argument was that the Hebrew word Elyonin is plural. So this is all talking about Most Highs, plural. And he's like, that's how you can tell that the Son of Man in this section is also God, is because when you come down here and it starts referencing Most Highs, it's talking about both the Father and the Son, which is absolutely incorrect. That is the sloppiest exegesis. It's not even exegesis, it's just eisegesis. But let's just label it exegesis because he's taking it from the text, right? He's misinterpreting it, obviously, but he's taking it from the text. So that is the sloppiest exegesis that I have seen since the Avery Adonaic debacle, which is just what I'm coming to call that now. So that's the argument. Most High is a grammatically plural word, so it's talking about both the Son and the Father as the Most Highs, and therefore the Son is God. No, absolutely incorrect. And let's kind of dive into why. what this is, right? Firstly, let's go to 718, right? You'll see that in no translation does it render it as most high. Maybe like the literals will. Actually, you know what? That's a good question. Let me see. Let me go to one of the literals. No, even the literal translations don't render it as most highs. That's actually surprising. Well, anyway, back to my point. In no translation will you find a rendering for most highs, plural. And, just as an aside, let's remember that these translations were done by people who actually know biblical Hebrew, right? Not armchair apologetics or apologists, not armchair apologists like Avery and Albee. Okay? These guys don't know biblical Hebrew. So then they start talking about all this biblical Hebrew stuff, like the Aramaic debacle, when they have no clue what they're saying, all right? So every translation that we have here, at no point is this rendered most highs. Highest one, right? Most high. There's none of them that say most highs, plural. And that's because what you have here with that word is something called an intensive plural, all right? You can see, will it do it? There we go. Okay. So what you have here is something called an intensive plural. So you hover over this, right? It shows the word masculine plural, right? But it's rendered as the most high, okay? What an intensive plural is this. In Semitic languages like biblical Hebrew that are largely poetic or have poetic, elements to them, when someone wants to convey a noun in like the highest sense or in the most fullest and complete sense, they will pluralize the word. It doesn't mean multiples of the noun. It never means that. It doesn't mean multiple persons of one being when the literal word is most highs and it's rendered as most high. And I have some I'm going to, I know that's a little complicated to understand. So I have some verses that are going to prove my point. But the basic premise is this. When a Hebrew word is pluralized, but only referring to one subject, that is called an intensive plural, sometimes a majestic plural. But most of the time it's called an intensive plural. And that is simply a poetic device in biblical Hebrew that allows you to convey the most complete sense of whatever the noun is, right? So in this case, most high is the noun. This word is pluralized to signify that this person that they're talking about, the most high, in its most complete, exhaustive sense, is that most high, right? So in this debate between Avery, Albee, Mike, and Andrew, right? This argument was coming from Albee Al specifically. I don't remember if Avery chimed in this specific part, but I remember in something else, it may have been this video, it may have been another, where he talks about the same concept, but in reference to different verses and different words. One of those being Job 35:10, where it says, "But no one says, 'Where is God, my maker, who gives songs in the night?'" Right? My maker, God, okay, it's clearly referring to just God, but this is a plural constructed word, right? You see it right there. It says masculine plural construct, but then it qualifies or it further explains first person common singular, right? So it's using the plural form of the word in a singular application, which again does not mean multiple persons of the same God. This is common for many other words that don't even apply to God, which we're going to get to. But I wanted to bring out some more examples to show you where they're really getting this from. So again, literally, this word right here, my maker, is the plural form. So it would, it's my makers. But again, it's applied to a first-person singular subject because it's an intensive plural. Okay. So, Job 35:10 is an example of that. Isaiah 54:5, I believe, is another one where it says, your makers. But, just like in this one here, right? Where is God my maker, my creator? It's always all singular. None of these render it as plural. In all of these examples, you're going to find the same thing. Isaiah 54:5, it says your maker, but again, the word for maker is plural. Psalm 149:2, I think it says his maker, again, same word. And I think Ecclesiastes, where's it? I think it's Ecclesiastes 12. Yeah, okay. Remember your creator, right? Actually, that might just be the same word. Okay, your creator, right? Again, masculine plural construct with a singular application. So Avery would argue that this is saying your creators, as in the Father and the Son, right? No, not the case. Nobody translates it that way, and again, these people actually know the language, whereas Avery and Albee do not. So, I'm going to show you now that this still happens even when God is not the subject. Because, like I said earlier, it's just a poetic device in biblical Hebrew to convey the fullest sense of the noun in question. So, in Genesis 24:9, let's read this. So, the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master and swore to him concerning the matter. Right? So, servant put his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham. Right? It's talking about Abraham. Abraham is the master of the servant. Thigh of his master Abraham, right? Abraham is clearly not multiple persons in one being. Okay? Master Abraham. Master, Adonai, what do we have? Masculine plural construct with a singular application. Literally, his masters, because the word is plural. So for them to say that in Daniel 7, Most Highs is referring to multiple persons of one God, they have to say that masters is applying to multiple people within Abraham. And this is not the only example. Let's go to another one. Genesis 39:20. And took the master of Joseph and put him... You know what? I can't with that. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, but while Joseph was there in prison, yada, 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 right? Joseph's master, all singular in translations, right? Adonai, masculine plural construct, again, with a singular application. Who was Joseph's master that threw him in prison? It was Potiphar, right? Was Potiphar multiple persons within one being? Pretty easy answer, I think. Okay, go to the next example. Exodus 21:29. If, however, the bull has had a habit of goring, and the owner has been warned but has not kept it penned up, and it kills a man or a woman, the bull is to be stoned, and its owner is also to be put to death. Okay? Owner, singular, all of it. No plural in translation for the term owner. In the interlinear. And his owner, Bebelev, or Bivelev. I guess that might be how you pronounce that, okay? What do we have here? $10 to a Trinitarian who can tell me what we have here. Masculine plural construct with a singular application. What? You mean the bull's owner is multiple persons within the one being? That's craziness. Man, you guys are so good at interpreting scripture. Owner. Masculine plural construct. Third person masculine singular. These guys have no clue what they're talking about. Okay? The claim that because Most High or makers or creators is grammatically plural in these verses and thus means multiple person God is horrendously bad. They obviously don't know how biblical Hebrew works. They might not even be aware of what an intensive plural is, which would not surprise me in the slightest. But as I've clearly demonstrated, it is a common thing, right? Abraham as the master. Is anybody else this servant's master in its most complete sense? No, he reports to Abraham. He respects and follows Abraham. Abraham is, in every sense of the word, his master. He owns him. Could basically decide if he lives or die, and according to the direction of God. Same thing with Potiphar. Had enough power to have him thrown in jail, right? Like, he was Joseph's master in the most complete sense. Same thing with the bull's owner. Nobody else owns the bull. Nobody else can decide what happens to it, unless the owner is negligent, and then, by the decree of God, the bull is to be killed. But that's besides the point. It's very simple. Grammatically plural words in Hebrew do not necessitate multi-personal beings. It doesn't even imply that in any sense at all. Nobody in a serious theological or exegetical or even scholarly way would make that claim. That is a claim of the armchair YouTube apologist community as a way to gotcha when they're arguing against people who don't believe the Trinity. But it's just false. Like, there's nobody who knows. I guarantee you, they could not go to a biblical scholar or a biblical Hebrew reader and be like, yo, this implies multi-personal being, right? And get yes as an answer. That's not how biblical Hebrew works. So, anyway, this video turned out to be a little longer than I wanted. Yeah, 19 minutes. I didn't intend for this video to be this long, but, just wanted to get that out there. Oh my lord, dude. If I could be in, I'm just a small guy, right? I think I'm at like 30 subscribers now or something, which is not relevant to me. I'm just trying to get the information out there. But it seems that in this space, they only take you seriously if you have like a larger following, right? But if I could have been in this debate when they tried to pull that crap, oh my goodness. Just shut that down immediately. If you're ever talking to someone and they pull these arguments, just no, absolutely not. That is crap exegesis. Genesis 24:9, Genesis 39:20, Exodus 21:29. Write those down. Keep them on you, right? Just make a little note in your phone. Arguments against, or just like intensive plurals, and then just like have those listed. So when they bring up that stupid argument that Most High or creators or makers means multi-personal God, like, no, it's just an intensive plural. Very common in Semitic languages, especially in biblical Hebrew, where oftentimes the language is poetic. So hope that helps you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.